What's up, everybody? I'm Jessekazam. Welcome back to another Escape from Tarkov video. In this video, we're talking about one of the most important skills, in my opinion, to learn in Escape from Tarkov that can help you win more firefights, and that is flanking, why it's important, and some tips to help you kind of make those quick decisions in fights and hopefully net you some more victories. I stream Escape from Tarkov on Twitch. All my links will be down below. I'd love to have you stop by and say hey. And if you liked the video, think about dropping a like, commenting down below, or subscribing to the channel for more content like this. All that stuff helps me out a lot more than you think, so thank you so much to those that do that. But with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive right in. So to start this off, this is definitely going to be more of a discussion-based video, right? There's not just like facts or specific places to flank that are always going to work, or just kind of science that you can do around this. But I want to do a discussion about alternative ways to play the game. I think a lot of times metas present themselves in, basically any game, and Escape from Tarkov is no different. And a lot of my content is centered around providing alternate ways to play. Guns that aren't necessarily meta, but are cheaper and still very usable. And this is almost like that for play styles, like a way to play the game in maybe a different way than you see most of the time. And that doesn't mean that the meta way to play is bad. I oftentimes implement those tactics or those weapons or those ammos or whatever, but I like to just widen it up and talk about different ways to play the game, because I think the variety and the never knowing what's going on is kind of what makes Escape from Tarkov so much fun. So that's kind of the preface. This is just some opinions and some things that you can maybe implement to maybe get better, especially if you're struggling to get good at PvP, or you're struggling to get or implement some of those meta tactics or meta weapons. And at its core, Tarkov is a little bit less, I would say, quote unquote, skill based than other games. There are games that are centered around just mechanical skill, just aim. If you can click on heads, it's almost like chess, where if you're better than someone at chess, you're just going to beat them 99 or 100 times out of 100. And there are video games like that that really shine in that genre and are really good for that. And they're amazing things to have in your gaming category. But Tarkov, I would say, is a little bit less than that. Right at its core, Tarkov has a lot of RNG. You've got scavs, player scavs, scav bosses. You never know how many people are going to be in your raid. You never know if that squad you're coming up on is a 2-man or a 5-man. You don't know if you're going to go get the loot that you're looking for, or if that loot will spawn. So at its core, it's more of an RNG-based game that implements a lot of different styles and a lot of different things into the game, which is really fun, because then, in my opinion, that allows and provides ways for people who maybe aren't as mechanically skilled or don't have as much time to devote to training those skills to still be proficient at the game by learning the game's mechanics, by learning maps, and by learning other things that Tarkov provides. You can, over time, become a very, deadly player, somebody who's very proficient, who can accumulate wealth in the game and have a lot of fun without just being like a mechanical god. So we're obviously talking about flanking and how to kind of reposition on your enemies. I've made other videos about why repositioning is so important, but I just felt like what has been happening in Tarkov as of recently is that the meta that has kind of surfaced is this, really quick fights, jiggle peeking really, really fast, AD spam, peeking around corners, and just kind of trading shots until one of you gets a headshot, or just the whole fight being over in approximately 2 seconds. And once again, if you're really good at that, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. The game is just the game. And if you can be proficient at that, you can be proficient at that. But there's more ways to do it. And a lot of my favorite content creators to watch really use their map knowledge and their situational awareness to outskill other people. So when I'm talking about flanking, I don't know, I'm not going into the military definition or whatever. We're just talking about a video game here, but I'm talking about breaking away from a fight with the intention to then re-engage. You can always retreat, which is a tactic that isn't used very often, just being like, hey, I don't want to take this fight, or I don't think I can finish this fight, I'm going to bail, which is, you can totally do. Tarkov is about survival at the end of the day, but it's really just disengaging with the intention of re-engaging later. And you can flank in a bunch of different ways. You can flank aggressively really quickly, just to boom, sneak into another place, drop down, go up, use some verticality, swing around, and then go in and execute your enemy. You can flank much more slowly and do like a really wide flank on somebody or on a team that is coming your way. You can flank, I consider it still flank, defensively, getting out to a specific position so that you can heal, maybe pack a mag, and then go back into the fight from a different position and confuse your enemy. It's really just being able to break up that kind of play style of all these fights being over just in 2 seconds, because I'm just going to hold mouse 1, even though I'm hurt, even though I have a broken leg, I'm just going to hold mouse 1 until one of us is dead. And a lot of times what trips people up when they want to make a flank or they want to make a play is the audio. And that's very understandable, right? Because in a game like Tarkov, where survival is so important and they've put a lot of time into at least the sound effects and all the different varied audio that you can have, you really can, in a perfect world, use Tarkov's audio to really identify where somebody is. I would say even in a perfect world, even with perfect Tarkov audio, you still don't have to get choked up by that. The confidence, quick decision-making, really confuse people, even if they know. There's a term, I think it's even called violence of action, just the ability to, in the moment, as quickly as possible, confidently execute a play. There's something about that psychologically that will oftentimes confuse your opponent, or even though, you ran up the stairs and they can hear the stairs or whatever, being able to be quick and confident about it can oftentimes net you a victory. So even in a perfect world where Tarkov audio is like flawless, there's still something to be said for making these really aggressive flanks or movements around an enemy, and how much more often you can survive that fight or survive longer in that fight than just holding one angle and constantly peeking it. And then we have to recognize that Tarkov's audio is definitely not good. And oftentimes just by flanking, you can actually confuse the heck out of your enemy, because they hear you on a different floor and they have no idea if you went up a floor, if you went down a floor. They have no idea if you're outside or inside. The audio is in a really rough spot, and you can actually use that to confuse your enemy as well. It's not always about sneaking around, although you can totally make really slow, precise, sneaky flanks. You can also be loud and aggressive and still execute that flank well. I think a lot of times fights are really just about last known location. The enemy sees you, they think they know where you are, and if you are there when they get to where you are, or when they, hold that angle or throw grenades in, you will most likely just die unless you can, peek it and get that headshot first. So you can use that last known position to really play with your enemy by escaping out a different route, maybe jumping out a window or climbing upstairs. And then as if they didn't see you make that movement, they're still thinking that you are in that last known location. And you can use that to your advantage, because they might hold that location. They might be pushing into that location. And now you kind of know where you last saw them. You kind of know where they're probably going, and you know that they don't know where you are. And that concoction can really help you make some pretty cool plays. Like we said before, there's definitely a bunch of ways to do it. You can flank really aggressively. You can flank defensively. You can flank to a place where you believe that you will then get a longer range sight on them. If you engage with somebody, maybe at a medium distance, you think they're going to push you, you can fall back to an Overwatch position where that last known location is, and you think that they're going to be there, and now you can get a clean shot on them. A map like Woods is an awesome map for flanks, because it can be as simple as they're on one side of the rock, you engage them, you can just swing to the other side really quickly. Or I've even made flanks on teams if I'm soloing, if I'm 1v3 or 1v4ing. You can eliminate somebody, fall back to a different position, and then even make huge long flanks. There's a lot to be said about a lot of times people don't want to leave a battleground until that fight is over. So they're going to kind of turtle up to where they are and where they think you're going to be. A lot of times that has to do with loot. People don't want to leave loot behind. They don't want to risk losing the loot. You don't want to disengage from an area and then come back and somebody's looted everything. And once again, you can use that to your advantage. I play a lot of Woods, and you can make huge flanks almost completely to the other side of the map, to the other side of the lumber mill, and then come up behind people and they have no idea. You might catch them looting. They thought you retreated or left, and you can eliminate the enemy. Interchange is another crazy map for this. The resort, there's so many different ways to use verticality or long angles. So it's not just about quick plays where you jump out a window, then jump in, and then you can eliminate a guy. It's both and. It's really just, like we said, at its core, the ability to disengage from a fight with the intention of re-engaging from a different spot. It's a super fun way to play the game. It really does allow map knowledge. It allows kind of learning Tarkov, and not just video gaming, but Tarkov, to play to your advantage. There's so many ways to traverse the map. There's so many ways to traverse the verticalities of the map. There's so many different angles. There's so many different places than just the hot loot zones. And if the more you learn those things, the more quickly you can make these decisions, and the better the plays, the cooler the plays that you can make on people. Like I said earlier, this is actually one of the best strategies to implement if you're a solo player, especially recently, because Tarkov is kind of filled with duos, 3-man squads. You know, there's always one more. It's the Tarkov meme. And if you have the ability to engage, leave, re-engage, leave, re-engage, flank around, go all sorts of different positions, you can be much more proficient. I've talked at length before about how like the best weapon you have in your arsenal as a solo player is confusing the comms of the other people if they're in Discord or whatever, and don't give them the time to make the call out, because if you're constantly moving and shooting them from different places, you're just going to confuse them. They're not going to want a team kill, and you're going to be able to eliminate them, or you might even get them to team kill each other, which is even better. So like we said before, this is just kind of discussion based. It was just something that I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about to just highlight some different methods of play. Like I said, I implement the really quick, peeking meta kind of behavior all the time. And then I've also tried to implement more longer plays or wider flanks or flanking like this. There's a bunch of different ways to play the game as long as you're having fun. But I hope that if you are struggling with PvP and Tarkov, this can help maybe provide a different way to play, a different way to think about engagements, and maybe give you a reason to learn some more maps and learn how to traverse those maps better. So hopefully, ultimately, this helps you have more fun and win some more fights in Escape from Tarkov. Thank you so much for taking the time to check out this video. If you liked the video, think about dropping a like, commenting on the video, or subscribing for more content like this. I'm always trying to help create content that shortens the learning curve of Tarkov and gets you in your raids having fun as soon as possible. Like we said before, I stream Escape from Tarkov on Twitch, and all my links will be down below. I'd love to have you stop by and say hey. And if you're looking for some people to play with, we've got a Discord community as well. That link is down below. We've got a few thousand people, from Tarkov veterans to newer players and kind of everywhere in between. Thank you so much again for stopping by, and I will see y'all on the next one.